Hi, my name's Christina, and this is my first ever video on this brand new channel. Yeah, that's what they call it. So the reason I'm making this is because I have kind of always wanted to. Actually, when I was a kid, I wanted to do a vlog on YouTube. I used to watch other people's vlogs, and I just thought it was like the most fun, coolest thing in the world. And it's gotten to a point where I'm like, I'm really kind of doing this to hold myself accountable and also to bring people along on the journey. I see so many people that are gurus and teachers, and I'm not saying that, not every single person can teach, and so many people can be gurus. However, that is not the role that I want to take up here today. What I would love to do is bring you along the journey as I continue to do what I've been doing for the past few years. This is just kind of a way for me to document it now, and maybe to process aloud online with whoever's watching. This can be like our little community, like our little thing together. Okay, cool. So today there's gonna be, in my head, I'm imagining this channel with, like, because they call it a library, with all of these different videos, all these different like sections that you can click on. This specific video is going to be chapter 1 of The Artist's Way. I moved to Barcelona. That's a different story. I moved to Barcelona about a year ago, and anyway, I met a lot of really cool people, and one of the really cool new friends that I have, we decided, it just came up randomly that we both had The Artist's Way, and we were like, oh my gosh, we should do it together. So we are. And this week we are doing week 1, starting off from the beginning. Now, if you do have The Artist's Way, you can totally pull it out, and I encourage you to read it with me. Now, I'm going to read this chapter out loud. I'm just letting you know that right now, okay? This is going to be a long form video. Just get used to it. Settle in, get comfy, get cozy. Play your game while you're listening to this. I don't care. But I will say, this isn't just me reading the chapter. I will be stopping and interjecting whatever I feel like interjecting in that moment. So let's do this together, okay? So that's also what I was going to say. If you do have this book, you 100% should go through and read the basic principles and basic tools. I think there's like 2 little chapters before week 1, before the first big chapter. So read that if you haven't already. I've already read it. So we're just going to go ahead and get right into week 1. And week 1 is called Recovering a Sense of Safety. I have a lot of thoughts about this. Okay, before I even start this, okay, and I'm going to make all these thoughts very, very short. I'm going to let you know that I have tried to do this one time before, and I actually tried to do it with my sister. And I will say I didn't give like 110%. I don't even give 100%. I don't even think I gave 90%. I probably gave like 40%. I know that sounds horrible, but it kind of felt like my first read through. And I realized that with a book like this, you do it as much as you want to and can in the moment. And I don't think at the time that I was doing it, I had really good intentions in that I wanted to, but I don't think I was able to really fully commit in the way that I kind of idealized that I would be able to. So this time, I both want to and I am able to. So if you notice that I kind of have some thoughts that have been stewing about this, it is literally because I have read this before. I never finished it before with my sister, so there are weeks later on that I have no idea. It's going to be brand new to all of us. Without further ado, I'm going to actually get into it now. So week 1, recovering a sense of safety. And then it says on the side, this week initiates your creative recovery. You may feel both giddy and defiant, hopeful and skeptical. The readings, task, and exercises aim at allowing you to establish a sense of safety, which will enable you to explore your creativity with less fear. So it starts off by saying shadow artist. Oh, this whole, her explaining this, 1, Julia Cameron, Pisces. I'm just going to go ahead and certify myself right now as that woo-woo person. It's actually it's much deeper. It's much more complicated than just like a standard woo-woo label. But to make it simple right now. Yes. Shadow artist. So this part is going to hurt a little to read because when something is too accurate, this is that. So one of our chief needs as creative beings is support. Unfortunately, this can be hard to come by. Ideally, we would be nurtured and encouraged first by our nuclear family, and then by ever-widening circles of friends, teachers, well-wishers. As young artists, we need and want to be acknowledged for our attempts and efforts as well as for our achievements and triumphs. Unfortunately, many artists never receive this critical early encouragement. As a result, they may not know they are artists at all. Parents seldom respond, "Try it and see what happens," to artistic urges issuing from their offspring. They offer cautionary advice where support might be more to the point. Timid young artists, adding parental fears to their own, often give up their sunny dreams of artistic careers, settling into the twilight world of could-have-beens and regrets. There, caught between the dream of action and the fear of failure. Love that. We're going to repeat that. Caught between the dream of action and the fear of failure. Okay. Shadow artists are bored. I'm thinking here of Edwin, a miserable millionaire trader whose joy in life comes from his art collection. Strongly gifted in the visual arts, he was urged as a child to go into finance. His father bought him a seat on the stock exchange for his 21st birthday. He has been a trader ever since. Now in his mid-30s, he is very rich and very poor. Money cannot buy him creative fulfillment. Surrounding himself with artists and artifacts, he is like the kid with his nose pressed to the candy store window. He would love to be more creative, but believes that this is the prerogative of others, nothing he can aspire to for himself. A generous man, he recently gifted an artist with a year's living expenses so she could pursue her dreams. Raised to believe that the term artist could not apply to him, he cannot make that same gift for himself. Edwin's is not an isolated case. All too often, the artistic urges of the artist child are ignored or suppressed. Often, with the best intentions, parents try to foster a different, more sensible self for the child. Stop daydreaming is one frequently heard admonition. You'll never amount to anything if you keep on with your head in the clouds is another. Some Pisces stuff here too, but honestly everyone, okay? But I'm sorry, just a little, anyway. Baby artists are urged to think and act like baby doctors or lawyers. A rare family, faced with the myth of the starving artist, tells its children to go right ahead and try for a career in the arts. Instead, if encouraged at all, the children are urged into thinking of the arts as hobbies, creative fluff around the edges of real life. For many families, a career in the arts exists outside of their social and economic reality. Art won't pay the electric bill. As a result, if the child is encouraged to consider art in job terms at all, he or she must consider it sensibly. Erin, a gifted children's therapist, was in her mid-30s before she began experiencing a haunting dissatisfaction in her work. Unsure what direction to take, she began adapting a children's book for the screen. Midway through the adaptation, she suddenly had a telling dream about abandoning her own artist child. Prior to becoming a therapist, she had been a gifted art student. For 2 decades, she had suppressed her creative urges, pouring all of her creativity into helping others. Now, nearly 40, she found herself longing to help herself. Erin's story is all too common. Fledgling artists may be encouraged to be art teachers or to specialize in crafts with a handicap. Young writers may be pushed toward lawyering, a talky, wordy profession, or into medical school because they're so smart. And so the child who is himself a born storyteller may be converted into a gifted therapist who gets his story secondhand. I have been told to become a lawyer, a therapist, all of this stuff so often. And actually, this first chapter, the first time that I read through it, helped me to finally embrace one specific title at least. And it is that I am a writer. So also, as a little intro to me, even though we're just meeting, I'm a writer. And I guess in one of my categories for this library on this new channel, I will start to post some of my own things that I write. Yeah. Also, I should insert, by the way, none of this, just for legality purposes, none of what I have read so far is any of my writing. This is all The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. All credits go to her. Great. Let's continue. Too intimidated to become artists themselves, very often too low in self-worth to even recognize that they have an artistic dream, these people become shadow artists instead. Artists themselves, but ignorant of their true identity, shadow artists are to be found shadowing declared artists. Unable to recognize that they themselves may possess the creativity they so admire, they often date or marry people who actively pursue the art career they themselves secretly long for. That is gut-wrenching. When Jerry was still blocked as an artist, he began to date Lisa, a gifted but broke freelance artist. "I'm your biggest fan," he often told her. But he did not immediately tell her what he did not immediately tell her was that he himself dreamed of being a filmmaker. He had, in fact, an entire library of film books and avidly devoured special interest magazines on filmmaking. But he was afraid to take steps to actualize his interest. Instead, he poured his time and attention into Lisa and Lisa's art career. Under his guidance, her career flourished. She became solvent and increasingly well-known. Jerry remained blocked in his own behalf. When Lisa suggested he take a filmmaking course, he ran for cover. "Not everyone can be an artist," he told her, and himself. Artists love other artists. It's true. I think there's a lot of, like, she's talking about shadow artists, and that's something to, like, be wary of, or to be cautious of, I guess. But I also think that it's beautiful that artists love other artists the way that we do. Because when we do come together, like, even my friend and I deciding that we're going to do this book together, even though we haven't even gone through the first chapter, and decided that we're going to start calling each other artists, we congregate together. It provides inspiration to just be around other artists, to just, like, I think something about an artist, for me at least, is that we are constantly curious, and that both provides inspiration, drives inspiration. I'm going to continue on. Okay. Artists love other artists. Shadow artists are gravitating to their rightful tribe, but cannot yet claim their birthright. Yes, Julia. Okay, yes, that. Very often, audacity, not talent, makes one person an artist and another a shadow artist, hiding in the shadows, afraid to step out and expose the dream to the light, fearful that it will disintegrate to the touch. And actually, I should also mention, that is basically what I'm doing here on this YouTube channel, because I think it takes audacity more often than talent to get in front of a mic and speak in front of it. For me, the reason I wanted to start with The Artist Way as my first ever video on this channel is because I think that showing the actual process of being creative is so important and so powerful, because so often we have this idea that whatever we do is already going to be perfect, and if it's not already perfect, then it's not good and we shouldn't do it, and then it continues to build this narrative that it's not worth doing. So I don't even plan to edit this video. We're just gonna release it as is, as messy as it is, as goofy as I might end up being, and just let it be. Because I think that really shows the process. It both shows and lives and hopefully embodies that creative process. Okay, let's continue. Shadow artists often choose shadow careers, those close to the desired art, even parallel to it, but not the art itself. Noting their venom, Francois Truffaut, I hope I pronounced that right, contended that critics were themselves block directors, as he had been when he was a critic. He may be right. Intended fiction writers often go into newspapering or advertising, where they can use their gift without taking the plunge into their dreamed-of fiction writing career. Also, another form of career that I looked into and that people continuously try to shove me into, because that one makes money. Whatever. I ended up in sales, by the way. So still storytelling, just of a very different kind. Intended artist, ethical sales. I'm gonna preface that. I will absolutely refuse to do any kind of sales that I do not morally align with. Okay, continue. Intended artists may become artists, managers, and derive a great deal of secondary pleasure from serving their dream, even at one remove. Carolyn, herself a gifted photographer, made a successful but unhappy career as a photographer's rep. Jean, who yearned but who yearned to write feature films, wrote mini movies and her 30-second commercial spots. Kelly, who wanted to be a writer but feared taking her creativity seriously, made a profitable career out of repping really creative people. Shadow artists all, these women needed to place themselves in their dreams stage center. They knew this, but didn't dare. They had been raised to the role of shadow artist and would need to work consciously to dismantle it. It takes a great deal of ego strength to say to a well-meaning but domineering parent, or a just plain domineering one, "Wait a minute, I too am an artist." The dreaded response may come back, "How do you know?" Yes, gotten that many a time. I Googled it once when I was like 16, I think. And of course the fledgling artist does not know. There is just this dream, this feeling, this urge, this desire. There is seldom any real proof, but the dream lives on. As a rule of thumb, shadow artists judge themselves harshly, beating themselves for years over the fact that they have not acted on their dreams. This cruelty only reinforces their status as shadow artist. Remember, it takes nurturing to make an artist. Shadow artists did not receive sufficient nurturing. They blame themselves for not acting fearlessly anyhow. In a twisted version of Darwinian determinism, we tell ourselves that the real artist can survive the most hostile environments, and yet find their true calling like honing pigeons. It's hogwash. Many real artists bear children too early, or have too many, or are too poor, or too far removed culturally or monetarily from artistic opportunity to become the artists they really are. These artists, shadow artists, through no fault of their own, hear the distant piping of the dream but are unable to make their way through the cultural maze to find it. For all shadow artists, life may be a discontented experience, filled with a sense of missed purpose and unfulfilled promise. They want to write, they want to paint, they want to act, make music, dance, but they are afraid to take themselves seriously. I think it's kind of funny that I messed that specific line up, so I had to not take myself seriously. Okay. In order to move from the realm of shadows into the light of creativity, shadow artists must learn to take themselves seriously. With gentle, deliberate effort, they must nurture their artist child. Creativity is play, but for shadow artists, learning to allow themselves to play is hard work. Okay, there's a quote on the side. So there's a bunch of these really amazing quotes on the sides, and I've been trying to get through this. Also, I think that this is really cool if I'm able to like read this out loud on a video. So if you like the intro, because there's going to be a lot of little ad-lib comments, but if I'm hoping that it also makes this book more accessible to people who maybe don't have the funds or don't have the means to be able to buy it right off words English. So there are a bunch of little quotes on the sides, and I have been just trying to get through it, so I haven't been reading a lot of them, but there's this one on the side that I really love, and so I love a lot of them, but this one seemed very relevant. To live a creative life, we must lose our fear of being wrong, by Joseph Chilton Pierce. Okay, so that was the first little section of this. The next section she calls protecting the artist child within. And I love when people I love the idea of really envisioning or visualizing like yourself as an actual child when you were an artist child, and how that child still lives inside of you. I think it's a fascinating mental exercise. I think it's a fascinating emotional exercise. And she's going to start talking about how we are either nice or not nice to our artist child. And I think being able to see yourself in that way makes you go, hey, be nice. I think especially if you have a hard time being nice to yourself in your own thoughts, imagining yourself like as the child version of you or as a child kind of reminds you to be like, hey, don't be mean. So protecting the artist child within. Remember, your artist is a child. Find and protect that child. Learning to let yourself create is like learning to walk. The artist child must begin by crawling. Baby steps will follow, and there will be falls, yucky first paintings, beginnings, films that look like unedited home movies. Hey, it might just be this video. First poems that would shame a greeting card. Typically, the recovering shadow artist will use these early efforts to discourage continued exploration. Judging your early artistic efforts is artist abuse. This happens in any number of ways. Beginning work is measured against the masterworks of other artists. Beginning work is exposed to premature criticism, shown to overly critical friends. In short, the fledgling artist behaves with well-practiced masochism. Masochism is an art form long ago mastered, perfected, during the years of self-reproach. This habit of the self-hating bludgeon with which a shadow artist can beat himself right back into the shadows. In recovering from our creative blocks, it is necessary to go gently and slowly. What we are after here is the healing of old wounds, not the creation of new ones. No high jumping, please. Mistakes are necessary. Stumbles are normal. These are baby steps. Progress, not perfection, is what we should be asking of ourselves. Too far, too fast, and we can undo ourselves. Creative recovery is like marathon training. We want to log 10 slow miles for every 1 fast mile. This can go against the ego's grain. We want to be great, immediately great. But that is not how recovery works. It is an awkward, tentative, even embarrassing process. There will be many times when we won't look good to ourselves or anyone else. We need to stop demanding that we do. It is impossible to get better and look good at the same time. We're going to say that one again. It is impossible to get better and look good at the same time. I feel like today, in this modern society, we literally see ourselves more often than I think our ancestors ever did. Like, they had mirrors, but we have phones and computer screens that I can literally see my reflection in. We are constantly looking at ourselves. We're constantly aware of the fact that we are being perceived. We're constantly perceiving ourselves. Like, that makes that inner critic so much louder. That makes the part of ourselves that is masochistic so much louder, so much stronger. I'm going to say that again. We need to stop demanding. Sorry. It is impossible to get better and look good at the same time. Sometimes we just gotta suck a little. Okay. Remember that in order to recover as an artist, you must be willing to be a bad artist. Yeah. Give yourself permission to be a beginner. By being willing to be a bad artist, you have a chance to be an artist. And perhaps, over time, a very good one. I love that so much. When I make this point in teaching, I am met by instant defensive hostility. But do you know how old... Wait, hold on, I'm going to say that again. But do you know how old I will be by the time I learn to really play the piano, act, paint, write a decent play? Yes. The same age you will be if you don't. So let's start. Love. Mic drop. No notes. Okay. The next section. It's called Your Enemy Within. Ooh. Core negative beliefs. So, we're going to rattle through this. Most of the time when we are blocked in an area of our life, it is because we feel safer that way. We may not be happy, but at least we know what we are. Unhappy. Much fear of our own creativity is the fear of the unknown. I have this underlined. I'm going to read this again because this is so important. This is the reason people don't leave relationships that they're not actually happy in. This is the reason that people don't leave jobs. This is the reason people don't leave situations that they are not actually content in. A lot of times, sometimes, okay, there's obviously, I'm not talking about like abuse when I talk about this, because that is a situation that let's just put that there. I'm not talking about this. But I'm going to say that sometimes one of the worst things is to be too comfortable in a situation that you're not actually comfortable in. It's like being in the pan, like I imagine like the crab, or the lobster. Sorry, I'm vegetarian, guys. Anyway, the lobster inside of the pot on the stove. where it's boiling and you're not happy about it, but it's like, what do they say? Like, you're dead before you realize it. That's the kind of, most people don't leave things soon enough, I feel like, or don't, more like they just don't find their things soon enough. They, like, sometimes we really need to light that fire in ourselves. And unfortunately, as humans, we will use discomfort to light that fire for us. So sometimes we'll push ourselves to an extreme situation to where it's really uncomfortable and we have to do something about it. But she's not talking about that specifically, but I do want to say this again. Okay, sorry, I'm going to back up. Okay, we may not be happy, but at least we know that what we are, unhappy. Okay, sorry, now that I found it, I'm going to read it. Like, actually again. Okay, I know, it's third time. If you're actually listening to this, I'm going to assume it's because you also need to hear it 3 times. We may not be happy, but at least we know what we are, unhappy. Much fear of our own creativity is the fear of the unknown. This is how we stay blocked in our lives. Because people, at least they know, it's like the evil that you know is better than the evil that you don't know. No, not always. No. So, get uncomfortable. I will get uncomfortable with you as I am on this video right now. If I am fully creative, what will it mean? What will happen to me and to others? We have some pretty awful notions about what could happen. So rather than find out, we decide to stay blocked. This is seldom a conscious decision. It is more often an unconscious response to internalized negative beliefs. In this week, we will work at uncovering our negative beliefs and discarding them. Here's a list of commonly held negative beliefs. I can't be a successful, prolific, creative artist because. And then I'm just going to list them. It's the 1 to 20, okay? So I can't be a successful, prolific artist, I cannot speak English, apparently. I'm going to do this again. I can't be a successful, prolific, creative artist because 1, everyone will hate me. 2, I will hurt my friends and family. 3, I will go crazy. 4, I will abandon my friends and family. 5, I can't spell. That's hilarious. I'm sorry. 6, I don't have good enough ideas. 7, it will upset my mother and or father. 8, I will have to be alone. 9, I will find out I am gay if straight. 10, I will be stuck straight if gay. 11, I will do bad work and not know it and look like a fool. 12, I will feel too angry. 13, I will never have any real money. 14, I will get self-destructive and drink, drug, or sex myself to death. 15, I will get cancer, AIDS, or a heart attack, or the plague. 16, my lover will leave me. 17, I will die. Oh my gosh. 18, I will feel bad because I don't deserve to be successful. That one is all too common. 19, I will have only one good piece of work in me. Ooh. 20, it's too late. If I haven't become a fully functioning artist yet, I never will. None of these core negatives need to be true. They come to us from our parents, our religion, our culture, and our fearful friends. Each one of these beliefs reflects notions we have about what it means to be an artist. Once we have cleared away the most sweeping cultural negatives, we may find we are still stubbornly left with core negatives we have acquired from our families, teachers, and friends. These are often more subtle, but equally undermining if not confronted. Our business here is confronting them. Negative beliefs are exactly that, beliefs, not facts. The world was never flat, although everyone believed it was. You are not dumb, crazy, egomaniacal, grandiose, or silly just because you falsely believe yourself to be. We're going to read that one again too. Hold on. You are not dumb, crazy, egomaniacal, grandiose, or silly just because you falsely believe yourself to be. It's a great, you are not your thoughts. Love that. Okay. What you are is scared. Core negatives keep you scared. The bottom line is that core negatives, personal and cultural, always go for your jugular. They attack your sexuality, your lovability, your intelligence, whatever vulnerability they can latch onto. Some core negative beliefs and their positive alternatives are listed below. Negative beliefs. Artists are drunk, crazy, broke, irresponsible, loners, promiscuous, doomed, unhappy, born, not made. Positive alternatives. Artists can be sober, sane, solvent, responsible, user-friendly, faithful, saved, happy, discovered, and recovered. Oh. Okay, if somebody calls again, then I guess I'll hang up. For example, in a female artist, the artists are promiscuous. Okay. I don't know if you guys hear this, but I'm literally missing a football game for FIFA right now. My entire family would be disappointed. Yeah, I decided this was more important. Cheers to the artist way. And I just heard really loud cheering. I really hope it means that we're winning. I'm not even going to mention who the team is right now. Anyway, we're going to keep going. For example, in a female artist, the artists are promiscuous cliche may have in its place a personal negative. No man will ever love you if you're an artist. Artists are either celibate or gay. This negative, picked up from a mother or a teacher and unarticulated by the young artist, can constitute grounds for a powerful block. Similarly, a young male artist may have the personal negative. Male artists are either gay or impotent. This notion, picked up from a teacher or from reading too much about Fitzgerald and Hemingway, may again create a block. Who wants to be sexually dysfunctional? A gay artist may have yet another spin on the ball. Only heterosexual art is really acceptable, so why make my art if I have to either disguise it or come out of the closet whether I want to or not? Stripped to their essence, our multiple negative beliefs reveal a central negative belief. We must trade one good, beloved dream for another. In other words, if being an artist seems too good to be true to you, you will devise a price tag for it that strikes you as unpayable. Hence, you remain blocked. Most blocked creatives carry unacknowledged either-or reasoning that stands between them and their work. To become unblocked, we must recognize our either-or thinking. I can either be romantically happy or an artist. I can either be financially successful or an artist. I don't know why I couldn't get the word out. I can either be... it is possible, quite possible, to be both an artist and romantically fulfilled. It is quite possible to be an artist and financially successful. Your block doesn't want you to see that. Its whole plan of attack is to make you irrationally afraid of some dire outcome you are too embarrassed to even mention. You know rationally that writing or painting shouldn't be put off because of your silly fear, but because it is a silly fear, you don't air it and the block stays intact. I'm going to read that one again because that is actually so important. You know rationally that writing or painting shouldn't be put off because of your silly fear, but because it is a silly fear, you don't air it and the block stays intact. I also think something about when I mentioned coaches and gurus earlier in this, I've had a coach before. I loved it. It was great. It was exactly what I needed in that moment. I will say that it takes incredible strength on the coach's part to be able to hold and maintain the space, but it takes incredible strength on the person who's being coached to be that vulnerable. Most of the fears that we have, I feel like either they are silly or they come from very serious things, but now they're manifesting in ways that are not as serious, and that is what PTSD is. But it's maybe the original fear comes from something that was very serious and very real and very valid. But now it can also manifest in your life in so many other ways. And you don't want it to. You don't want it to manifest in those ways anymore. You know that the fear of the specific thing that you're talking about, the way that it's manifesting now, is silly. And so you think, oh, that's silly. That's nowhere near in comparison to what I experienced before, where that actually came from. So it's not even worth bringing up. It's not even worth talking about. But when you don't acknowledge it, you can't. It's literally, you have to get through it in order to get through it. When you don't acknowledge it, you cannot do anything about it. You haven't acknowledged it. So yes. Okay. In this way, your bad speller successfully overrides all computer spelling programs. You know it's dumb to worry about spelling, so you don't mention it. And since you don't, it continues to block you from finding a solution. Spelling fear is a remarkably common block. I didn't know that, actually. That's interesting. I didn't know that. In the next part of this week, we will excavate your unconscious beliefs by using some logic brain, artist brain learning tricks. These may strike you as hokey and unproductive. Again, that's resistance. If internalized negativity is the enemy within, what follows is some very effective weaponry. Try it before discarding it out of hand. Your ally within, affirmative weapons. As blocked creatives, we often sit on the sidelines critiquing those in the game. He's not so talented, we may say of a currently hot artist, and we may be right about that. All too often, it is audacity and not talent that moves an artist to center stage. As blocked creatives, we tend to regard these bogus spotlight grabbers with animosity. We may be able to defer to true genius, but if it's merely a genius for self-promotion we're witnessing, our resentment runs high. This is not just jealousy. It is a stalling technique that reinforces our staying stuck. We make speeches to ourselves and other willing victims. I could do that better if only. You could do it better if only you would let yourself do it. Affirmations will help you allow yourself to do it. An affirmation is a positive statement of positive belief. And if we can become 1/10 as good at positive self-talk as we are at negative self-talk, we will notice an enormous change. Very true. Something about your brain. Your brain does not know the difference between fake or not fake, or like what you say is real and what you say is not real. It doesn't know the difference. So if you tell your brain something over and over again, it will believe it. And then you will look to confirm your own beliefs because your brain is always looking for the easiest possible route. So then you will find everything in your existence to confirm whatever it is you just told your brain, even if it was a joke, because your brain doesn't know that it was a joke. Isn't that crazy? Okay. Affirmations help achieve a sense of safety and hope. When we first start working with affirmations, they may feel dumb, hokey, embarrassing. Isn't this interesting? We can easily and without embarrassment bludgeon ourselves with the negative affirmations. I'm not gifted enough, not clever enough, not original enough, not young enough. But saying nice things about ourselves is notoriously hard to do. It feels pretty awful at first. Try these and see if they don't sound hopelessly syrupy. I deserve love. I deserve fair pay. I deserve a rewarding creative life. I am a brilliant and successful artist. I have rich creative talents. I am competent and confident in my creative work. Did your censor perk its nasty little ears up? Censors loathe anything that sounds like real self-worth. They immediately start up with the imposter routine. Who do you think you are? It's as though our entire collective unconscious sat up late nights watching Walt Disney's 101 Dalmatians and practicing Cruella de Vil's delivery for scathing indictments. Just try picking an affirmation. For example, my name, Kristina, am a brilliant and prolific potter, painter, poet, or whatever you are. So I, Kristina, am a brilliant and prolific writer. I feel it. Okay. Write that 10 times in a row. While you're busy doing that, something very interesting will happen. Your censor will start to object. Hey, wait a minute. You can't say all that positive stuff around me. Objections will start to pop up like burnt toast. These are your blurts. Listen to the objections. Look at the ugly, stumpy little blurts. Brilliant and prolific. Sure you are. Since when? Can't spell. You call writer's block prolific? You're just kidding yourself. An idiot. Grandiose. Who are you kidding? Who do you think you are? And so on. You will be amazed at the rotten things your subconscious will blurt out. Write them down. These blurts flag your personal negative core beliefs. They hold the key to your freedom in their ugly little claws. Make a list of your personal blurts. It's time to do a little detective work. Where do your blurts come from? Mom? Dad? Teachers? Using your list of blurts, scan your past for possible sources. At least some of them will spring violently to mind. One effective way to locate the sources is to time travel. Break your life into 5-year increments and list by name your major influences in each time block. Paul had always wanted to be a writer, and yet after a brief flurry of college creativity, he stopped showing his writing to anyone. Instead of the short stories he dreamed of, he kept journal after journal, each following the last into a dark drawer far from prying eyes. Why did he do this was a mystery to him until he tried working with affirmations and blurts. When Paul began writing his affirmations, he was immediately shaken by an almost volcanic blast of disparagement. He wrote, "I, Paul, am a brilliant and prolific writer." From deep in his unconscious, there erupted a spewing torrent of self-abuse and self-doubt. It was numbingly specific and somehow familiar. "You're just kidding yourself, a fool, no real talent, a pretender, a dilettante, a joke." Oh, I'm accidentally touching things. Where did this core belief come from? Who could have said this to him? When? Paul went time traveling to look for the villain. He located him with great embarrassment. Yes, there was a villain, and an incident he had been too ashamed to share and air. A malevolent early teacher had first praised his work and then set about a sexual seduction. Oh, I hate that. I think I just blocked this part out of this book. Fearful that he had somehow invited the man's attention. Ashamed lest the work really be rotten too. Paul buried the incident in his unconscious, where it festered. No wonder secondary motives were always a fear when someone praised him. No surprise he felt that someone could praise work and not mean it. I hate that. Boiled down to its essentials, Paul's core negative belief was that he was only kidding himself that he could write. This belief had dominated his thinking for a decade. Whenever people complimented him on his work, he was deeply suspicious of them and their motives. He had all but dropped friends once they had expressed interest in his talents. He had certainly stopped trusting them. When his girlfriend Mimi expressed interest in his talents, he even stopped trusting her. Once Paul brought this monster up from the depths, he could begin to work with it. I, Paul, have a real talent. I, Paul, trust and enjoy positive feedback. I, Paul, have a real talent. Although such positive affirmations felt very uncomfortable at first, they rapidly allowed Paul the freedom to participate in the first public reading of his work. When he was widely praised, he was able to accept the good response without discounting it. Turn now to your own list of blurts. They are very important to your recovery. Each of them has held you in bondage. Each of them must be dissolved. For example, a blurt that runs, "I, Fred, am untalented and phony," might be converted to the affirmation, "I, Fred, am genuinely talented." Use your affirmations after your morning pages. Also, use any of the creative affirmations listed. And I'm going to read the creative affirmations, and then I'm going to put this away, and I'll make another video tomorrow where we do some of the tasks together, okay? So, the creative affirmations for the end of this chapter. Okay, it's 1 to 20, so I'm just going to 1 and then say the number 2. Okay. 1. I am a channel for God's creativity, and my work comes to good. 2. My dreams come from God, and God has the power to accomplish them. 3. As I create and listen, I will be led. 4. Creativity is the Creator's will for me. 5. My creativity heals myself and others. 6. I am allowed to nurture my artist. 7. Through the use of a few simple tools, my creativity will flourish. 8. Through the use of my creativity, I serve God. 9. My creativity always leads me to truth and love. 10. My creativity leads me to forgiveness and self-forgiveness. 11. There's a divine plan of goodness for me. 12. There's a divine plan of goodness for my work. 13. As I listen to the Creator within, I am led. 14. As I listen to my creativity, I am led to my Creator. 15. I am willing to create. 16. I am willing to learn to let myself create. 17. I am willing to let God create through me. 18. I am willing to be of service through my creativity. 19. I am willing to experience my creative energy. And 20. I am willing to use my creative talents. So you probably noticed that there was God mentioned a lot. She actually talks about how she uses that specific word, because I know it can be triggering to some people. It can be this and that. She doesn't attach it to a specific religion or anything like that. But she does go into detail of like what she's talking about. Like basically this creator energy is how she's defining the word God. And now that I'm thinking about it, this was chapter 1. This was week 1, recovering a sense of safety. Beautiful, beautiful chapter. There are a bunch of tasks. I'm just going to show you an example. Okay, so tasks start here and then continue on to the other page. For the task, now, like I said, we're going to do this together, and they literally even still continue on. I'm sorry if that was a lot of stuff for the mic. So before we even go there, two things. One, on the God part, I realized that is in the first two chapters that I mentioned in the beginning, and now that I'm thinking about it, if people do want me to read those first two chapters, just so you have like the accessibility part that I mentioned, so you can listen to them, I totally will. I don't mind going through like the basic principles and kind of like her introducing what this is. Just let me know, put it in the comments, and I will include that into this library as well. For the task, I'm going to do that on a separate video because this video is already pretty long. And we're going to do some of these tasks together. I think I'm going to do a lot more like pause and go for that one, because there's going to be some like writing that's needed. But ideally, I want to actually do some of these tasks with you. So I might read some of them, so for the accessibility factor, so people have the task if they want to do them. And what she encourages is that for the task, you do a few of the ones that really excite you and the ones that you feel the most resistance to. So I will do one or two, or a few of the ones that really excite me and a few of the ones that I feel the most resistance to. And we will do them together so we can do this creative process together. Wow, if you've listened this far, I love you, okay? So tune in tomorrow, I guess, for the task. Okay, sending lots of love. Bye.